If you feel the need to constantly prove yourself to the people around you, constantly prove why you're right or why you're doing a certain thing for a certain reason, your ego is controlling you. And your healing can't begin until you put your ego to rest. Hi everyone, my name is Gigi and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about your ego and how your ego is the reason you're not healing. Now, I'm sure we're all guilty of this, feeling like every time we do something, we have to explain why we've done it and why it's right. We have to prove to everyone why our way is the right way for us. We can't take advice, we can't take help because our ego is in the way. And we shouldn't be ashamed of that. It's a natural human behavior to want to defend ourselves. But having a high ego is the reason you're not healing. So today I really want to get into what having a high ego is, what ego is in general, and also how to dissolve that ego to fully allow yourself to heal. Against popular belief, having a high ego does not mean you're super confident or super arrogant. It's actually mostly the exact opposite. There's actually a lot of misconceptions behind what ego is, because having a high ego does not mean you're confident. It does not mean you've understood yourself and you've worked on yourself. It doesn't mean you love yourself or value yourself very highly. Often having a high ego is protection. It's a protection method we've formed for ourselves. Protection against trauma, against experiences we don't understand. Ego forms when we feel like we're unseen or we're unheard, when we feel unworthy of something. The more experiences we have when we feel those things, the more higher our ego becomes. Ego is what forms when we feel like we constantly have to perform for someone or something, and we constantly have to prove ourselves to the people around us. Ego lies where there is a lack of confidence and self-love. But ego isn't a bad thing and you shouldn't be ashamed of it because, again, this is a behavior that's formed through a coping mechanism. A behavior that we've picked up to help us get through situations we're afraid of, we don't understand, we feel like we shouldn't be in. Whether that's because it makes us anxious or whether we believe we shouldn't achieve this thing. The need to prove ourselves, the need to be right, the need to be perfect in everything that we do is giving us purpose. It's proving to everyone around us that we know what we're doing and we know we're doing it right, even if we're not. It's human behavior to want to be accepted, to feel like we're part of a group. So having a high ego that makes us want to prove to everyone around us that of course we can do this, of course we're confident, of course we love ourselves, even when we don't, is simply part of a coping mechanism that we've taught ourselves to fit in. But where ego lies, healing does not, because in fact, ego is the pretending of loving ourselves. It's the pretending of confidence. It is the fakeness that we're proving to everyone else. That's exactly why we can't heal. And the reason we can't heal because of it is because ego is for other people, while healing is for yourself. So why is it so addicting to want to prove yourself to everyone around you? Validation is one of the most addicting behaviors we as humans have. Constantly wanting to prove ourselves to fit in feels like a survival tactic, something that we have to do to survive in this life that we're in. To receive validation from others is like receiving an instant dopamine hit. It's temporarily teaching our brains that this feels good, so we should keep doing it. It's giving us that tiny bit of confidence that we need for that split second to make us feel better. Like tiny little breadcrumbs of what we want to feel like but can't feel like yet because we haven't healed. Like a sneak peek of what's to come, but because we're doing it through the validation of other people, it never will because we can't do it for ourselves. And when we're not receiving the validation from others, we're not proving ourselves to others, we're not making ourselves fit in, there's nothing. And this form of constantly reaching out for validation, seeking fitting in with the world around us, comes in the forms of very similar situations. Situations that you will find yourself in over and over again. Like little mindset traps that catch us exactly where they want us and keep us so we can't heal. This might look like only feeling like you're worth something when you achieve something. So for example, if you're constantly seeking out achievements, whether it's rewards, whether it's promotions, whether it's trophies and certificates, whether it's constantly seeking being the best person on your team, and if you fail at receiving those, you feel worthless, like you're not good enough, you're a failure. Everything is a competition, and everything is a brutal competition. You subconsciously put yourself against everyone around you, which builds a lot of hatred, a lot of jealousy. Because if you don't win, you envy those who do. Because you see the only way that you can survive life is if you are better than everyone around you. If you're not achieving, if you're not constantly going towards an achievement, you're lazy, you're unmotivated. This is not being an ambitious person. This is not seeking out your goals. This is ego, and this is trying to prove yourself to the people around you that you're worth it simply through your achievements. I mentioned it before, but another very common one is constantly comparing yourself. Comparison turns into motivation for you to compete and compete and compete. You don't admire someone, you don't admire their work. You want to be better. You want to do better. You can't look up to people because you want to be them. You want to do better than them. You're constantly wanting to prove that you can do it better. Because again, if you're not achieving, you're failing. And that is what your ego is telling you. Because you're constantly comparing yourself to others, every time you see someone doing something different or better, you instantly feel like a tiny person. Like even if you've won thousands of other things, because you haven't won this one thing, you failed. That is the ego taking control of your life. Another common one is the constant need to be right. You're constantly over-explaining yourself. You're constantly seeking out validation in people saying, yeah, you're right, you're correct. Oh, I didn't know that. You can't apologize for being wrong because you just explain why you're right. Because your ego is telling you that you know more, you're smarter, you're more well educated than the people around you, so you have to be right. This is why ego controlling your life is incredibly difficult when you're wanting to heal. Because ego doesn't want peace. Ego doesn't mind if you lose friends. Ego doesn't mind if you cause a fight. Because ego is about protecting your image to others rather than protecting your image to yourself. And the last very common one is believing that you are healed, and because you are healed, you are right. Everything that you say is right. Everything that you do is right. This one is so unbelievably common that a lot of people believe that because they've read a few books, because they've watched a few videos, and they believe that they've fixed themselves, that makes them a better person. That makes them have achieved more than you. They're doing life better than you. But because this is ego, and because they are doing this to prove themselves to other people, that is not being healed. That is not actually going through the journey of healing yourself. That is simply saying that, yeah, I've healed myself because look at me now. Everyone look at me now. What you're doing is wrong. How you're doing it is wrong. They use this healing journey as a form of avoiding accountability for what they actually have to do. They use it as a way to get validations from others. And that is why it is so incredibly important to dissolve your ego before you start your healing journey. Because if you're trying to heal, but the only reason you want to heal is to prove to others you can, you're fueling your ego rather than actually healing for yourself. By recognizing you need to heal, by recognizing your healing journey is about you and what you want, not about how other people are going to react or what they want to see from you, you immediately start to break down and dissolve your ego. The more you work on yourself for you, the more you do things for yourself, you're going to break down those habits that have built your ego up. You're going to go from constantly focusing on other people to solely focusing on yourself. You're going to become selfish, and again, selfish isn't a bad thing. While your ego was making you constantly over-explain to everyone why you're right, as you soften that and heal yourself, the only person you'll have to prove yourself to is yourself. The only person you'll have to explain yourself to is yourself. Rather than proving to everyone that you're the prettiest, you're the smartest, you have the most achievements, you're going to do what you need to do for yourself. The habits, the tasks, the routines that build you, what you want to be, who you want to be for yourself, and that alone will diminish the ego, because you won't feel the need to be seen, to be validated by others, because you're doing it for yourself. You're building that skill to validate yourself for the right reasons. So how do you stop ego controlling your every action? There's a few small practices that you can do every single day, little by little, to release the control ego has on your life. Number one is to do things without announcing them. Go away to different places without posting. Achieve achievements you never thought you would without posting them everywhere. It could be as simple as getting yourself a coffee and not telling your friends about it. Finishing a book and not immediately telling people how quickly you've done it or how many words you've read. Sharing your achievements doesn't mean you have a big ego, but when you're someone who tends to use your achievements as validation from others, it's so important to remove that behavior. So by allowing yourself to just enjoy the achievement without feeling like you need to tell everyone around you, you're building that validation within yourself, and you will stop needing to tell everyone because you don't need them to know. You don't need them to validate you. Your achievement isn't defining you. It's not making you a better person. It's just something that you've done. Something that you should be proud of for yourself. The second practice is to allow yourself to be upset, to be uncomfortable, to have discomfort in your life without performing it for everyone around you. By this, I mean stop posting about when you're crying, stop posting about when something bad happens. Stop immediately jumping online to validate why you're feeling a certain way from others. Rather than constantly having to justify why you're feeling so upset, why you're angry, why you're frustrated, just allow yourself to feel it, to understand yourself without the input of other people, without searching for others who feel the same way, without searching for others to tell you why you should be feeling that way, why it's okay to feel that way. Just allow yourself to be uncomfortable, to be upset without feeling like you need to prove why you feel that way. The last practice is to detach yourself from the outcomes of your actions. Now, I'm not talking about if you do something bad that you don't have the consequences of your own actions, but I'm talking about when you feel like the only thing you're doing something for is the positive outcome. The only reason you're working so hard is because you must win. You must get that trophy. You must get that promotion. The outcome is a bonus. The outcome is the end. But the journey is what is the most important. Take healing, for example. You don't just heal to get the outcome of, hey, I'm healed now. It's about the journey of understanding yourself more, of building your confidence, of building your self-love, of working through things you thought you never would be. That is the achievement. In fact, truly, you will understand that there is sometimes no outcomes. Especially in the healing journey, you will forever heal. You will continue to learn more about yourself. You will continue to heal parts of yourself. There never is truly an end, therefore there never truly is an outcome. And if you're someone that's so solely focused on winning, getting to the end, achieving something, reaping the rewards of an outcome, and the only way that you can feel good about yourself is if you achieve that outcome, every time you don't, you're going to feel like you've failed, that your life is miserable, that you're not good enough. So detaching yourself from that outcome and enjoying the process, enjoying the journey is what's the most important. Because every step in your journey is going to feel like a small win to you rather than just seeking out the end goal, the outcome. The truth is that the most peaceful, confident, loving people who've achieved everything that they want to in life are quiet. They don't post it all over social media. They don't run on about it to their friends because they don't feel the need to prove anything to anyone else apart from themselves. Them knowing that just because they've gone on that journey is enough for them. For them, it's not about how much money they have to show off to people, what designer brands they have, how many awards they've won for being smart, but it's about why they've done that process, who they've become during that process, and that is through the lack of ego. That is all from me today. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to comment down below and I will try and get back to every single comment. Don't forget to subscribe and I will see you in the next video. Bye!